Anthony Grassi for NAIA Ticker here at the Women Leaders in Sports National Convention. Happy to sit down for another small college conversation with the NAIA Vice President of Membership, Value, and Governance, Chesney Sallee. Chesney, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Anthony.
So as we sit here now, you are in year 13
I
with the association.
Yes.
I'm curious how you think about your own path. We're women leaders thinking about professional development.
Yeah.
How you think about your growth and your development as a leader while being at one place for a sustained amount of time.
Yeah, so I got into the NAIA really kind of out of luck. Law school internship, found a place, and like you hear in the rooms here at Women Leaders, a lot about take an opportunity and learn as much as you can from it and grow and say yes to things and volunteer for things. And I think that's kind of been my path at the NAIA. Being at a smaller organization where we still do a lot of things, that means we're always looking for people to pitch in and help out on things. So pretty quickly, I was able to not only develop my little niche of expertise, but also then grow it both in breadth and depth over time. So that helped me to elevate, but also being at a place like the NAI where we do so many things, it's always changing. There's always something new and different to get involved in. So that's what's helped keep me really engaged and just still enjoying it 13 years later, is because every day is different. There's always new challenges, and it's what keeps it fun and fresh.
You mentioned your legal background. Did you have, I guess at some point in your career, maybe early on, did you have a path that you thought you were going to follow? And I guess as you sit here right now, do you have a path or a goal in mind career, or you're kind of just taking it as it comes to you?
I've heard some people say, like, make decisions with intention. And my path is more of one of, I did that, and every time I'd head towards something, I'd cross it off the list. I'd try it out and decide, that's not quite for me. So undergrad, law school, pretty quickly in law school, thought, I'm not going to be a trial attorney. I don't know where I see myself going. But I always found myself gravitating back to sport. So undergrad degree in journalism, thought about sports broadcast. In law school, kind of crossed some other things off the list, but came back to, what is sports law? And that's what got me in the door with an internship at the NAIA. And so I think for me, it was just, I like to kind of keep my options open and understand and get to explore different things. And what I found was at the NAIA, even though I actually started as an intern and then a seasonal staff member in our eligibility center. So it wasn't like I had some very clear career path I was following. But what I found is the culture and the work is what keeps me motivated and engaged and wanting to be there. And so, actually our AD of the year, Jamie Pendergast, said it at the Words Luncheon today, of sort of like, you can tell success when somebody is so fulfilled and dialed in on their job that you can't really tell if they're working or playing. And that's I feel like that describes my experience anyway at the NAIA is, it's challenging, it's fun, but we're bought in, and there's a uniform or unified culture. So you see that same mentality kind of spread around the office. So regardless of what the specific role is or the project that I'm working on, which changes, year over year and that sort of thing, that's what keeps me coming back.
Were there moments throughout your tenure that that lack of a maybe path to follow has created some challenges for you? Or maybe internally created some challenges?
Yeah, I think especially when I was a little bit earlier in my career, just trying to figure out kind of what's next and what's that next step. And being at a place like the NAI, our departments are not 15 people deep. It's not like there's a clear, you're in this job for 2 years and then you'll get a half step up and a half step up. We aren't that deep. So there were times where that was a challenge, but I think for me, and I've seen it with myself and plenty of others, sort of this like willingness to stay engaged, keep showing up and doing your job, whatever your job is, and doing it well. And the opportunities do come, maybe not always on your timeline, but they do come. And others in the organization see that. They see people who, are kind of the rising stars of the organization, want to find ways to keep them involved. So I was the beneficiary of that, and now being a little bit further along in my career, try to do some of the same for maybe some of the younger folks at our organization of saying, I see you, I see the work you're putting in, like, come learn about this project, or you want to jump in on this thing and gain a little bit more expertise or experience.
Yeah, helping to lead the next generation and advocate for those that
hopefully, can. Absolutely.
In your current role, we've seen we're like a week or two removed from 2 new additions to the NAIA.
Yes.
How do you think about kind of membership? We had this conversation a year ago when you guys had just added 5 new members, but the landscape is kind of ever evolving.
Mm-hmm. So we did just add 2, but we have a couple of membership cycles. So if you look over the course of the year, we've had more applicants and this year to the NAIA than we have in decades. So that tells us certainly there is interest and it is growing in the NAIA. And so what we then focus on, we've got folks in our office who certainly are out there selling and telling the story of the NAIA. But meanwhile, at the same time, we're also looking at how we provide services and programs to our members and continue to enhance and improve and drive more value. Because especially in this day in both college athletics and higher education, those are two really tough, really rapidly evolving industries right now. So the more that we can provide value to our members, the more our hope is that it makes the NAI so valuable for them that they don't want to leave.
As you think about maybe where those applicants come from and kind of what the driving force is, are you in either their application process or in the conversations that you're having with them, identifying those reasons why, and maybe using that and maybe not you in particular, but others on your team are using that information as they inform their marketing, their sales pitch to others?
Yeah. Yes, we are absolutely doing that. And the answer differs based on what sort of pool or type of prospect you might be looking at. So we have, I think, gotten more sophisticated in our approach with programs that you might say maybe they're kind of newly adding sports or they're merging. Maybe they're junior colleges going to four-year institutions, those sorts of things. We've gotten more sophisticated in our approach about how to both kind of reach out a hand and help them while also making sure that they are elevating and evolving, kind of meet our standards in the NAI before we bring them in. Because we also have a duty to our existing members to make sure that their experience in the NAI and the experience of their student athletes in the NAI is the caliber that they expect. So while we always, are looking for new members to add to the NAI family, we want to make sure it's sort of a cohesive environment that we're bringing them into. So then on the other side of things, where we're talking about more established athletic programs that might be a member currently of another association, what we find is that it differs based on where they're coming from, but certainly the NAIA model in terms of financing and scholarship is a big differentiator. Our approach to regulation and rules is a differentiator in that we believe we're able to balance both the fairness and the consistency while permitting as much institutional autonomy as is possible in a given situation, and that those things all become big differentiators. The models and the information that we have coming out of Return on Athletics, the ROA data program that we have, and the insights that come from that, I think really provides a great way for it to be more than just what we tell people, more than just our talking points, but here's the data to back it up, and an ability for prospective members, whether that's their athletics director or someone else on their campus, looking at that data and saying, okay, so how are we alike or different here? If we were to pull this lever over here or pull this lever or add this sport or change our number of student athletes, how does that impact our total bottom line? Because we know at schools like ours, that's really the key these days, is making positive contributions to the institutional bottom line, not just the athletics department. So those schools that are coming towards us are doing that because they are finding that there's a really positive opportunity for them to continue to be competitive while also doing it in a responsible, sustainable way at their institution.
When you think about either the junior college, 2-year to 4-year colleges, or those that are kind of starting from complete scratch, I'm curious what the involvement is. Obviously, you guys said you're doing some things. What does that look like? In both instances, because there's probably some similarities, I imagine, but if you're starting from zero versus you have something that's very different.
I won't go into all the levels of detail, but we kind of call it our Pathways program, being like, we will help you on the path to look like an NAIA member. And that's what we want you to we want you to be prepared, as well as our current membership when we bring it in, so it's all smooth. So kind of depends where they are now, and people can come in kind of, like you said, starting from absolute ground zero or maybe a little bit higher. And we work with them through a process. We visit campus. We do some, institutional reviews and that sort of thing, understanding where they are currently, and then whether it's through some of our staff or our current members, really kind of forming a team around them to help and kind of advise them as they go about here's where you are now, and here's where you need to get to, but we're also going to help you get there. We're going to give you those tools about here's how to take that next step. So certainly an institution has to be willing and interested in doing those things, but that's why they enter into this process, and we try to be as transparent with it as we can about Here's sort of the maybe discrepancies or deficiencies that we see right now and why you might not be an NAIA member today, but let us work with you. Let us, like I said, use a team of our existing members and work with you, and we'll help you get there.
We talked a lot about the people coming in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about people that are in.
Yeah.
Delivering on the membership value or maximizing the
Yeah.
membership value. How do you evaluate kind of what are the KPIs?
Yeah.
How do you evaluate what that looks like? And what's kind of the succinct goal that you're trying to achieve on a regular basis with that?
Yeah, so we call that member value in the NAIA, which is a term in all reality, have only had for a handful of years, but it is this thought process of how do we think about the value that we deliver to our members. And like I said before, the goal is in a kind of off the cuff kind of way, like make it so good in the NAIA that they don't want to leave and go anywhere else. So there's a variety of ways that we assess that. One of the key ones, not the only, but one of the key ones is a more formal, systematized member surveying process that we have started over the last handful of years. And in it, we do that a few times a year, and we're able to sort of say, how's the NAIA doing? How's your experience? And then we're also able to go quite a bit deeper and dig into very specific programs or services and understand how are those going and where's their opportunity for improvement. And we do that of our entire membership. So presidents to ADs to coaches to SIDs to athletic trainers, about 10 different positions, because all of those people are part of the NAIA membership and their experience matters, and we need to continue to improve on it. So some of those KPIs that we really focus on at sort of the overarching level would be what we call a value customer satisfaction metric. We also focus a lot on a net promoter score, so really a loyalty metric. And we're now 2 complete years through having done this framework, and we've seen numbers in both of those 2 key categories go up for almost every single constituent group, and in some cases remarkably increased. So we're very pleased not only with the results, but then several of the other programs and initiatives that we have started to drive that. Or I would also say some of the learnings that we've had in existing programs and services that have helped us understand, okay, where's the disconnect maybe between how we're operating and what our members are seeing or needing, and it's really helped us close that gap a lot faster.
As you think about leading the association being led forward, what does that plan look like for the NAIA?
Yeah. So we have just completed building our next strategic plan. It just kicked off on July 1, so we're officially into our next strategic plan for the next 3 years. And I think it was probably one of the more rigorous strategic plans we've had in recent history in terms of member involvement. And so we had a lot of different opportunities where we got member feedback and advisory groups and things on building it, because again, we want to make sure it's not about what we think sitting at the national office. It's about what really drives value to our existing members. And then if we're doing that right, it should also be attractive to those prospective members that we want to bring to the NAIA. So this plan resulted in, we've got 4 kind of key pillars of it, and some of those are continuing from a previous plan. So we continue to see things like student athlete experience and development, and we've got to drive an exceptional experience for NAIA student athletes. We see membership recruitment and retention. We know, as our CEO will say, that's kind of job 1 for us. So we know we got to be focused on that and continue to evolve the way that the industry is. Member value is also now a pillar within that plan. And then the 4th pillar is new for us, which is brand advocacy. So I think for a long time in the NAIA, we have kind of just trucked along and done our business and have recognized that we're not the biggest name in the industry, and have not put all of our resources into figuring out how to tell our story more broadly. And while we'll still be wise in how we do that, we've got more, I think, willingness now, especially in this moment in time, to go out and tell our story. We've got a lot to be proud of in the NAIA, and I think we're seeing more people in the industry maybe kind of picking up their head and paying more attention than they would have in the past. So we're doing a lot of work on that right now, with some of that about to kick off here in the next couple of months, and sort of be more visible. On
the brand advocacy side, how much of it, as you guys have thought about it, obviously these things are still
evolving,
a work in progress, is stuff you guys can do internally with the staff that you have, and how much of it is potentially we need a partner on this to help us maybe reach or develop some of the marketing assets or any number of things? How does that kind of balance?
We are working with a local marketing firm based out of Kansas City, who's actually worked with us on some previous projects, so they've gotten to know us well. Crux helped us with, Crux is the name of the firm, and they helped us with some things on ROA and an executive level education program that we have called Winning Decisions that is intended for campus presidents or their cabinets, really, or maybe even their boards of trustees, on understanding if you're wanting those data-driven metrics so that you can make decisions on your campus. ROA is it for you, and we want you to understand how to gain that value out of ROA. So Crux, by doing that work, got to know us really well and understand I think the nuances that exist that can take some time. So they're working with us on this new project. So while we recognize we needed additional expertise in brand marketing, the other place, we can do plenty internally too, but the other place where we need external partners is really our membership. Because we can create the assets and the collateral, and we can do all of those things. But really, what's a lot more effective than anything that we will blast out on the internet or anything along those lines is what an AD at an NAIA school says to an AD at another school, or a president says to another president. So the other key place we are really hopeful that we'll be able to use our members, and so far our members have sort of come back with a resounding like, yes, we're ready, let's go, is we need them to help carry the message to their peers.
I'm going to on this last question. This might be a little bit bigger one.
Okay.
How do you think about, you are a membership-driven organization, but you, and not just you specifically, but you as the NAI there's an element of needing to lead the organization forward versus the organization being membership-driven. And those two seem not always parallel. They may seem divergent at times.
That's true, yeah.
So how do you think about that as a leader for membership value?
Yeah. It's a very good question. And it's not new. I mean, that's existed for a really long time, in that ultimately we exist to serve our members. So I've kind of referenced it of like, we can think this in the national office, but ultimately it matters what our members think. And that is true. We really do exist to serve our members. If we're doing that right, there's a lot of trust and a lot of partnership in that relationship. And I think that's one of the special and unique things about the NAIA is that our members know us who are on staff at the national office, and we know them. So there's a lot of collaboration there. But there do become those moments where it's maybe there's a differing opinion, or maybe we're recognizing some things because we're thinking about just the NAIA all day, every day. Maybe it's a business opportunity or a business risk. So there are those moments, and we have to pick our spots wisely, I think. When we kind of sit in that seat and operate maybe a little bit more as providing our own advice or guidance. But ultimately, I think about it a lot of times as like, as staff, we can kind of draw the guidelines or the parameters, and then membership makes the decisions. That doesn't fit in every situation or circumstance exactly, but it can become a little bit of I don't want to say a tension exactly, but it is something that you have to weigh and I think be cognizant of when you're on staff at the national office. Is ultimately like, yes, we sit here on staff, but we serve our members. So we've got to listen to them. We have to understand them. We have to be empathetic to what they are going through on campus and what campus life looks like right now, because it's very different than what our life looks like in the office. But I think if we're doing those things right, then we're stronger together with our membership.
Yeah, and if you build that trust and continue to kind of maintain that trust, when you bring them an opportunity and you say, hey, we think this is what's best for the membership at large, you have the cachet to say
exactly
that,
right.
to step out. Yeah,
Exactly right.
Well, excellent. Thank you for the insights, Chesney.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Anthony.